Hi, I'm David Soper, and today I'll be going through Intersight Managed Mode server profile configuration. We'll start in the Intersight dashboard and look at our managed B series servers. And the top server in the table view, I will try to go and launch a KVM console for this managed server. And I will see that virtual KVM requires local management IP configuration. So next we will walk through what is needed in server profile configuration for virtual KVM access. In the Intersight Profiles menu, I will go to the UCS Server Profile configuration screens, and I will create a UCS Server Profile. I will append the SP to the name, and then I will just use the server name as it was. And I see a new option for FI attached servers as the target platform. I will assign the D23-1 server I was looking at earlier, and then I will go into policy configuration for the server. One of the required policies for access on the management network is the IMC access policy. I'll name that policy, set up a VLAN ID, which is used for external management IP connections, and I'll configure an IP pool that the policy will use for configuration. In the IP pool, I have typical network settings for net mask, gateway, and primary DNS. And then I have IP block configuration where I'll give a range and size. Once I have that policy in place, I also need to configure a local user policy that will be used for access to virtual KVM and any local management network access to the server. So as with other policy creation, I will give the policy a name. This is the local user on the local management controller. I'll stick with default options here, and I will go add a new user and provide a username and role and password for this local user account. With that IMC access and local user policy in place, there are other options I could configure in storage or network configuration. I'll hold off on that for now, and I will deploy this profile to that server. And once the profile is deploying in the upper ribbon, I've got the tasks button, and I can take a look at active tasks or requests, and I can see the validation of that policy and deployment validation of the different policies and deployment of that profile to the endpoint. Now we'll take a look at trying that virtual KVM access again on this server. So my actions button on the right side of the table view, I can go in and try to launch this virtual KVM. Now I do have an IP configured. My browser's redirected to that local management IP, and I will use the username and password configured in that policy to connect to the KVM. Some other policies that I may want to set up here are boot order, so that I can go do operating system installs or similar operations. We'll take a look at that now. So in the table view, I've got a server profile now assigned to my managed server. I can edit that. I won't change server assignments, but I will go and set a boot order policy. Create a new policy here. Again, the user-defined name. And those can actually be changed later with Intersight. I will be booting from local disk and then local CD drive. So I'll give a device name for this, and this is user-defined again, and a local disk option. Precision boot options can also be provided here, where this would match a actual named boot device on the endpoint. Here I've just chosen disk as a simple identifier. Other options can be set up here for things like storage configuration or network. To provide those options, I'll just start with a simple boot order And next we will switch and look at some at-scale operations with server profile cloning and how to do server profile operations across multiple servers. So back in my server profiles menu, I've selected the clone operation, and I will clone this out to my -2 server in my Intersight Managed domain. And I will deploy and clone that profile with virtual KVM access enabled and a boot order option. So with those done, I'll take a look now at server operations, including one-time boot. Back in the servers table view, take a look at my -1 server again and power cycle it. Now I can set a one-time boot device. These options are taken from the boot order policy. I can power cycle the server and perform other operations. One-time boot enablement allows me to do operating system installs or similar. Thank you for the time, and be sure and visit intersight.com/help for more information.